It's actually been a whirlwind couple of years. I guess it's been what? When did the vaccine? Uh, 5 years ago now. 3, 5 years ago, and before that's when COVID started. I got in a car crash a few years ago and couldn't drive. I was sitting at a stoplight here in Escondido. Had my surfboard on the roof of the car. Just come back from surfing San Onofre, and I was sitting at a stoplight, and this girl rear-ended me, and I couldn't even believe it. I lost my car. Had to sell my surfboard to pay bills. Couldn't do anything. Put on weight. I didn't need to put on weight, I guess, but it's just like eating and not surfing. And so I started working at the local gas station. It's a pretty crazy, intricate industry if you get into it. I got into being an assistant manager, but when I started at the gas station, I was on graveyard shift because the graveyard shift guy was getting a back surgery, and so I was all graveyard at first. It was right in the middle of the first week of that new job starting on graveyard. This thing called COVID started popping up in the news, and people were like, they're starting to like panic. Like people would come in the middle of the night, and like in the middle of the night at a gas station, there's always people with different reasons, tripped out stories, like either doing real legitimate road tripping or working and drinking energy drinks and coffee, and they're just like too caffeinated, or like they just like coming in and like telling jokes and stuff to the gas station cashier. It was all fine. But then there's the people who come in on drugs or like they use drugs in general, and like they're also fine. Like they're not trying to do anything, but you just have to like deal with their mentality or whatever their flow of thought is, and so they'll have some absurd things to talk about or whatever. That's like every gas station on the planet. Unless you work in one, you don't realize who is what type of conversationalist. So there's that. And then all of a sudden, this COVID thing hit, and people were coming in and they're like telling these tripped out stories. I was like, nah, yeah, right. There's what are you talking about? There's not gonna be a global pandemic. You guys are crazy. And then, like a week later, some guy in like a McLaren with a USC shirt on, like slacks and shirt, has this huge like Darth Vader freaking mask on. Like it was this one with dials and stuff. I was like, "Here's your change, sir." And he left. I was like, I look at the next person. I go, "That guy crazy? Why does he have that mask on?" And then it was a tow truck driver. He goes, bro, people are getting scared. Like they're, I was just like, it all set in from behind the cash register, walking to work. Like I don't really know. I never go to the doctor. My whole life, I've never gone to the doctor. Like I'll probably die and go to the doctor 2 more times in life. I'm 45 years old. Um, like I'll probably die at 120 or something too. So it's not my type of thing. Like not getting the vaccination really probably was my logical type of philosophical thing, but I got the vaccination ultimately because types of work are not beneath me. Like taking out trash, cleaning toilets, handling money. Money's filthy, by the way, but cleaning counters, things like gas station stuff's cool, and there's a business, and maybe you can buy a 7-Eleven or whatever. So it's always just cool to learn. But this little set of things started to set in because of how panicked people get. Everybody getting in their arguments. They get in arguments right at the counter about each other not having a mask on in the gas station too. It's sort of like um, it was almost like the agora for people. They get there and they say their piece about like whatever the last person was saying philosophically and how they disagree. Like each, it's like back and forth, back and forth. It's like months and months. I mean, I don't even know. It ended up like at least a year of my life on my mind. I ended up in the newspaper like in Sacramento. They used my quote. I don't know. I was looking at stuff about COVID, about when do you think a pandemic ends? I think it ends when it ends, like psychologically, emotionally for people when they just get over it internally. Like it could be nowhere to be seen. It could be zero virus, and people are still doing things because they think they need to have precautions, like we always do. In crisis, we have different people who fight to take away our rights in the name of safety, and then other people who fight um, and are almost foolhardy to defend like our extreme absolutist rights with no safety. So always some continuum in between. Just went from there though, after being an assistant manager for a while, to being a process server for 4 months, delivering credit card lawsuits, which is everybody there is like, oh man, how can you do this? You're turning on the people, delivering credit cards, credit card lawsuits. We had COVID, we needed these credit cards. I served like 700 services of process in Riverside County over 4 months. I put like 40,000 miles on my smart car. I bought a smart car in the assistant manager training program at Speedway, and then went and served all these credit card lawsuits. Really, is somebody's who's being sued constitutional right to have their lawsuit paperwork delivered to them by hand. So I'm really being the Johnny Tremaine in this situation. Like I'm holding someone's constitutional rights. I'm not the one violating anybody's rights. It's not collections. It's your opportunity to argue why you shouldn't have to pay the money for the credit card that you already spent. Right? Like people think about it the other way when they're getting sued. So they dropped my independent contractor agreement at 4 months for undeclared reasons. I really don't know what I did. I got in a couple arguments with people and like they probably complained. I got in I got in like a standoff fight with these bikers in Lake Elsinore. It could have been that, but like I I called the police and they came all running outside and I just stood there like, what? Do something. And they're like, screw you, man. They all like stormed off in a big old circle in their trucks. But like, really, I thought those guys were cool, but they just like tripped out at me all of a sudden. It's probably a lot of classic stories about like, oh yeah, you guys are cool. Oh wait, they're trying to stomp me out. And so they dropped me, and I went back to security because it's always been a thing. I have my guard card, always kept it. I've been doing shift supervising. I mean, and then now the political cycle is ramping up again. It's like, holy crap, people are just passionate over so many other issues. And like, you can be, if you have a better paying job, you can be in a house and just like, go to work. Work is where these battles happen. Work in like the gas station, wherever you have to go where people don't have to agree with you. So lower paying jobs, like there's a lot of people who are way more, well, more Democrat. I'm not Democrat at all. I get called a rhino sometimes because I'll like think an idea a Democrat politician is talking about is a good idea. But like I wouldn't vote for that person to be in their office because I don't like all of their sum total of ideas, right? But I'm really not a rhino. I went to Cal Lutheran and studied religion, and I didn't know that it was a different thing than the Lutheran Church Missouri Synod. And I stayed and I argued with my professors for 2 years, and then they kind of changed my mind. So then I was arguing against the positions that I initially held. They have this thing called the historical critical hermeneutic, which is their way of looking at interpretation of the scripture. But we all do that, taking things in context and saying like, what could be the meaning of this thing given these other extra textual considerations. Like in contract law, you have parole evidence, like things that are entered into an argument about what was or wasn't used as inducement to get someone to contract that is just outside of the actual specific writing. But you can say, oh no, this is someone defrauding someone else because of this parole evidence, and you say this isn't the natural representation of the meaning of the minds or whatever argument. That's how you get a divergence, though, between left and right, if you will, in religion and then the Constitution. I mean, we have principles of originalism, what they fit with authorial intent, and then you have the philosophical concept of uh, are we reading the writing of a human? Like, and should we really listen to, like, think about Peter's background or Paul's background? People who are more liberal in their theology say, "Oh, that's Paul." A lot of time, "Oh, that's Paul." Like they don't like Paul all that much to be considered as revelation from God. He says things that are just to most of us, we think it's God using people in their context to give a revelation to us. There are more cut and dried lines in life. But we don't have to fight each other. I mean, about all kinds of things. We do argue and battle in the school systems and about kids, about like the whole uh, gender ideology divergence between basically religious groupings and political parties is a big deal. Like to me, it's a big deal. So that's why I've taken this um, direction with advocating for kids to go to biblical counseling. When the group that I started to do paralegal work for pro bono attorneys who take sex trafficking victims as clients, we want to also take kids to conservative biblical counseling because I think they need to hear basic traditional message of like God loves us, God created us male and female. These other people did wrong to you. Like there's the right and the wrong, and what you're feeling is not because of you having not properly viewed yourself as being a different gender than your body indicates. It's that you're experiencing the results of being violated, extremely violated. So betrayed, violated, all kinds of things. And from there, I think the psychiatrists and psychologists that the group of Christian biblical counselors that we're wanting to send kids to are probably going to be a little more conservative. They have their law issues, their Hippocratic Oath issues, their licensure issues of what things they have to say and how they have to say them, and that's fine. But we have our First Amendment and we have our Christian viewpoints, and we're allowed to advocate into litigation support work to help attorneys to advocate for parents and kids' rights to, there's government funding that can help people for counseling after crisis. And I think that they should be able to choose more biblical counseling. It doesn't have to automatically be like an atheist psychiatrist who wants to tell you to go like, okay. I'm not saying that that's what psychology always is, but we do have these ideology battles in society across a bunch of different fronts. So my thing I'm doing is it's probably subdued. It's not meant. I'm not going to be hurling insults the other direction. I understand what step by step reasons I had for becoming progressive in my theology in part for about 2 3 years, and then it was a voyage, if you will, back going through seminary, going through. I didn't go all the way through seminary. I finished part of seminary when I was a young life area director after I got out of the Marine Reserves. I just think culturally, there's things about work though that are telling that have to do with my Christian religion about working for your earthly employers as if you're working for the Lord, even when no one is looking. It's a thing that is missing in our generation, oftentimes, in our younger generations, oftentimes. But you can get mad at them, or you can have a little bit of compassion because it damages them. It's damaging to them that someone has pulled the wool over their eyes and told them, "Hey, you don't need God, and you don't need to." Something simple. You don't need to work for your employer on earth as if you're working for the Lord. You do need to do that. So, vocation and avocation are very important, and coordinating volunteers is an avocation for me. I do security. I'm working on getting some certifications and taking a step upwards and getting a private investigation license. want to build Praxis Professional into a bigger non-governmental organization, but right now it's me coordinating volunteers. So, and politics throws a lot of us for a loop. We don't have to friendship ending battles with people who are on the other side of the political aisles who we've known forever. I mean, critiquing politicians and thinking like, hey, that person might be more extreme than everybody else who kind of votes for them because they have to do what they do as politicians. Like, um, you know, it's almost not human, but it's a professional thing. It's putting and they don't try to downplay themselves. It's sort of Machiavellian is how politics is. They're putting only their strong face and foot forward. So I think a lot of more of us are a little uh like in youth ministry and in recovery. Like I started drinking in the middle of college and I haven't drank for almost 6 years. Being genuine about like, okay, these are my character defects. These are the things I have traditionally done the wrong way. I think most that's the human thing. Machiavelli is human, but it's this thing where you compartmentalize. You just like never tell someone anything that you've ever done wrong. And in a lot of situations, that's good. Better just to focus on work. But I don't know. That's it. Helping kids who are at risk or who have been victimized is the whole deal here with praxisprofessional.com. Thanks for listening to my morning little movie film TV show on the YouTube.